Doug Mazeski.
Peter.
So our next guest is someone who's been here on the show about a year ago. He is a filmmaker, producer, director, Ralph Giordano.
Yes, and he's running a short circuit film festival. It's called Colorado Short Circuit Film Festival, of course.
Yeah, October
7th and 8th.
Yes.
But I guess there's a special surprise there, October 8th.
We're going to be filming live.
I know, that's really neat.
So we will be interviewing people, and we hope to see you there. And Ralph is going to tell us all about that and some other film festival type activities in the month of October.
Welcome to the third chair.
Right here.
Welcome here.
I won't be cutting that out.
So Ralph, can you say your last name so I don't goof that up?
It's Giordano.
Giordano.
Our very, very, very special guest.
Oh, gosh. I keep getting more and more special as we go along.
You're
thank
very
you.
special. Yeah.
Yeah, end of the night, we won't have we have to put in parentheses.
Yeah, times
Square.
42.
Yeah, the square above it.
Special guest to the 42nd power.
So he doesn't take the whole segment saying how special you are. So one of the reasons we asked you here is you're hosting the Colorado Short Circuit Film Festival, and it's October 7th and 8th.
Yep.
And can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we're going into our 6th season. And last year we were virtual because of pandemic.
Only the last 2 years, right?
No, actually, 2020, we actually had the festival live. It was in February.
Oh,
and it
so
was just before shutdown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you were smart.
2021 was the one year that we couldn't do it. We also, and we'll
good,
talk
it's
about
only
this
1
too,
year.
we also brought back Indie Spirit Film Festival, but as a virtual event. So we decided that we wanted to wait on that before we come live again. And I'll talk more about that later. But Short Circuit, yeah, back for its 6th season. And it's back at Ivy Wild School.
Ivy
where
Wild
it's always
School.
been. And so it's nice just to be able to come back live. And, it was interesting doing the virtual events, but it's just not the same as a live event because you don't have the interaction with your filmmakers. And I think that's really one of the best reasons why you want to go to a film festival, in addition to seeing the films, but then to be able to listen to the Q&A, and then you could talk to the filmmakers later. And it's also a place for not just audience interaction with the filmmakers, but then the filmmakers kind of network with each other. So that big part of it was missing. So now we're going to
There's
bring
the
it
whole
stand and-
energy. Yeah,
You can stand in line for lunch and you can...
And that's what happens. Yeah.
You make a deal, or
Absolutely. People can
create
talk
a-
and chat about their films or what they're working on next. Or if somebody's a director of photography or a cinematographer, somebody might say, hey, I saw your work. I'm interested in maybe working with you on a film or a project.
That's so critical because, as amateurs doing this, sometimes you just need help and some extra bodies or maybe one special skill set. And when you're networking, you can trade. It's like, a couple of us will be extras for your music video if you can sing me a song or something. And that really helps getting things done without having to have like a giant cash budget.
Well, networking is really the most important thing, especially in the indie film world. Where you don't have a lot of money, so you really need to kind of work with people on different levels and just kind of build up a relationship. Remember, filmmaking is collaboration, so...
Yeah.
the thing is, as we get more and more technology, we're having less and less interpersonal action, but sometimes, and some people say, well, you don't really need that to do things, but I think they are missing something because, like you said, you could be standing in line, you could be... just chatting, or you could just be doing a Q&A and someone will say something and it'll hit a spark to you that you might not hear online because kids are yelling in the background or...
Well, and I think it's different too because when you're watching something virtually, you can put it on pause, as we do when we're watching Netflix and Hulu. But if you go to a live film event, it's beginning to end,
So you got to concentrate.
And you have to really be present, I think. So in the way we design, because it's a shorts festival, there are a block of shorts per segment. and you watch all of them all at once, and then the Q&A's at the end. So traditional film festival style.
So you say the Q&A is at the end. Who goes up for the Q&A?
Well, the filmmakers that were involved in that block of films, yeah. So let's say there were 5 films in that segment, that block, then those that are present, those filmmakers can come up at the end of that
Would
segment.
it be the actors too, or?
Yeah, I invite anybody up who was involved with it.
Okay, so there
yeah.
could be quite a crowd.
It could be up, yeah. We usually do get quite a crowd. So it just depends upon who's there and who feels comfortable.
Mm. Well, I think it's worth mentioning a point you've made just one more time. It's amazing when you get with people with different experiences how someone, just by talking with them, can actually solve a problem you've been working on for hours or days, like in 10 seconds. Oh, try this camera with this filter, and it's like, so fast, the value of networking and talking to people face to face at these. So, shameless plug, please come to the Short Circuit.
Actually, if you're independent or you want to be an independent filmmaker, I think this is really something to see, because you will meet the directors, and the shorts are going to be outstanding,
and they're all Colorado films, so that's why we call it Colorado Short Circuit. So all these filmmakers are from Colorado Springs and Denver and different parts of Colorado. I think we have Boulder and Pueblo. We have.
I read the fine print on that. If you've lived here before, you can possibly qualify.
Yeah.
And if you do, or if you're going to school here, so like if you lived in New York and you came to do a course at UCCS, you'd be potentially eligible to submit.
Yeah. So as long as it was either made here or. So I just have a filmmaker who's actually in this year's festival. He just let me know that he moved to Virginia, but that doesn't matter because the films that he made that were in the festival were made here. So we still extend that out there. And there's another film that I'm very interested in what he's doing that I would like for next year, because he did a lot of it here in Colorado. So if he wants to submit it, I would still qualify that as part of a Colorado film.
Now, I'm assuming that it's too late to submit a film now for the
contest. Yeah, they've all been selected.
And they've already selected and judged in the primary rounds.
Nothing's been judged yet, so the judging process will take place coming up. So the selection process is different from the judging process. So we have 63 films in the film festival this year. So we have categories. We have documentary, we have comedy, drama, we have horror, and sci-fi is one category.
Oh, they're together.
Yeah.
All right.
And then we have experimental, music video, animation, women in film, and we have a new category this year, young filmmaker.
So what is that all about?
So anybody who qualifies in that area is from like 15 years old, so high school level, all the way up to 25. I kind of extended it. I said it was like 21, but it's really 25, mainly because some of our filmmakers are students and they're at university, and that's kind of a good age, but we wanted to keep it to be a good range to indicate that they're kind of just starting out.
So it doesn't count if the filmmakers act like a 15-year-old.
No, they have to actually be.
Otherwise, you'd be it, Peter. And
For next year.
So they have to actually
No, Peter, you do not qualify.
Yeah.
Now, Doug would, the producer, but
it's a great new category. We experimented with that with Indie Spirit last year too, and it was good to have young people just be represented, and some of these films are just amazing. So, and what's neat is too, for instance, our women in film category, for instance, films that were directed or written or produced by women in film. But if it's a documentary film, that could still qualify in a documentary category. Or if they happen to be a young filmmaker, they could also qualify in that category. So it's up to the judges to decide. And we have 10 awards that we're giving out this year in each one of those categories, and then Best of Festival.
Do you have the same judges for all 10 categories, or?
Yes, so all the judges have to watch all 63 films.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they were going to be kind of blurry, and you gotta watch it in a different way because you can't say.
Well, we decided because last year when we went virtual, they had to judge them virtually, and then we would meet via Zoom at different points in the judging process. So we decided to do the same thing again this year. So instead of them like we normally would do live, where they would just be there live and then they would be judging them as they were watching them, we've given them more of an opportunity to just kind of spend some time with it. Just because there's so many films. We seem to cram so many films into a short amount of time.
Yeah, 63 films and like, what
it's-
was that one?
I know.
It must not have been good because I don't remember it.
And this is why I figured this is good. But plus, I wanted to be able to, we used to give certificates out, which was easier to kind of just print up spur of the moment. We're actually having made plaques this year.
Oh, wow.
So 10 award plaques, and this gives us an opportunity to have them made and ready by the time for the festival award ceremony, which would be Saturday evening.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why the judging has to happen earlier.
What's the shortest length and what's the longest length?
Oh gosh, so the longest length is
You'll
probably...
tell us when we get back, so you can think about this.
Oh, okay. When we come back, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that's
Our
right.
producer,
We
Paul,
are going to come back.
So Ralph, how long is the shortest one, and how long is the longest one?
How short is the shortest one?
Yeah.
So the range is really, the shortest film we have is what we would call a short, is probably 1:30.
Oh, wow.
And the longest one is just coming in at 29 and some change.
Is 30 the cutoff?
30 would be the cutoff,
Yeah.
for any length of film. And to tell you the truth, it's really tough as you get the longer films because it's harder to program because, you want to be able to get as many films in as possible.
Yes.
So that becomes tough. So looking at maybe expanding the festival in future years so that we would have more time.
So you got 2 days. How many hours are you going to be able to
it's probably
watch?
over 9 hours worth of films. We actually are starting earlier this year on Friday. We're starting at 2:30 in the afternoon for a documentary block. And that's a pretty long block because I decided to put the longer documentaries in that section. We have 2 documentary blocks. The next one is Saturday morning at 9. But back to Friday, then after that we have a VIP reception with our filmmakers from 5 to 6:30. And then starting at 7 is horror shorts. And then I think it's at 8:45 after that is the last block of that evening for opening night, which is comedy and drama. And it's going to have our featured filmmaker, Steven Sabell, who's premiering Colorado premiere of his new short film, Dead Right There.
Wow.
So that's going to be a good night. So his film is going to be at the end of that block. And so that's a long block, so because it's opening night, so I kind of packed everything into a big opening night.
So how much does this film festival cost?
Well, that's kind of difficult to say. So.
Are you talking about a ticket to get in or
Yeah,
to
to
put
get
it
in.
on?
Oh, okay. I thought you
Both?
said production-wise.
No.
Oh, well, so I'm glad you asked because I'm going to have that brought up right now. So you can purchase tickets at csc.eventive.org. That's CSC for Colorado Short Circuit. Let's see what we have. So with the single
We'll put
tickets.
that actually up on the screen for you.
Great, thanks. So I think the single tickets, let's see if that's up yet because we're still kind of toying with that. So that's not there. But let me talk about the passes because that's probably the best way to see the film festival this week is see as many films as possible. So we have 2 different passes this year and of course internet's not coming up. So I can't tell you what's going to happen.
On a break we can look that up and
We will
get
look
that.
that
Yeah.
up because.
But as a general rule, it's not like prohibitive to the average person. Or we?
For the full festival, it's $75.
Okay,
And that
okay,
includes
okay, that's-
everything.
yeah,
And then we have
yeah.
a Saturday
So
only
that's-
We have a Saturday only block, yeah, or I should say Saturday only pass. Too.
That's a little over $1 a film.
And then you can also just buy block. I think it's $8.50. So don't quote me on this because obviously it's not posted on the site yet.
So that's something I've always wondered about, and I don't know if Doug was going to ask. Forgive me if you were, Doug. So are films then just shown like the same kind in a block? So like if there's 10 horror submissions,
Yes.
you will see all 10 in a row?
Yes.
As opposed to horror and then The Sound of Music and yeah.
I thematically put them together. So comedy and drama are usually in the same block. So there's 2 comedy and drama blocks. All the documentaries are in the documentary block. However, in Young Filmmaker or in Women in Film, it could be a mix.
I would expect.
Yeah, so that's where you actually see kind of a convergence of all the different genres. You know, and then we finish on Saturday. The final block is experimental, music video, and animation. So that's always a fun block of films because it's just so full of many different types of filmmaking.
Wow.
Yeah. You look puzzled.
No, I just
You're looking
no.
confused, yes.
I'm wondering about when you say an experimental category.
So experimental films could be anything that's really told in maybe of just a very visual sense. Sometimes there's a narrative to it, but sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it's just this feeling that you're going to get from this film. And for instance, a poetry film, a film that's based upon a poem, we consider that partly as as an experimental film.
Yeah, but
Because the narrative is different from what.
but don't you have
You don't
like,
have a plot to it.
There can be a plot, but really a visual style is what you're looking for.
But isn't there going to be some sort of general rubric for judging? You know, what did I think of the audio quality or the sound
Yes.
effects or
For
the
every
music
film.
or the plot or the narrative or the character arc or or maybe just one script? Maybe you put it all in just that. And so it seems like the experimental film would be a little tougher to judge
Well, you know, you
by
still
the same
have
criteria.
cinematography. I mean, and you still might be trying to do a message in the film overall, and if the audience doesn't catch that message and the judge thinks there should be a message and he doesn't catch any, or maybe the message could be too obvious and like you're hitting the audience over the head.
It's up to the judges to
Yeah, it's
decide
up
what
to
they
the judges.
Yep. It's
I
up to
mean,
the judges
there's stuff-
and they can also move a film to a different category if they think it doesn't fit.
Oh, fair. Well, that's good. There's that kind of flexibility and
Yeah. So and by
individual thought.
And by doing that, it benefits the filmmaker because it would give them, if they're moving a film to another category, it gives them a better chance.
So they're moving it.
yeah.
Say this really, you'll have a better chance.
It might be better in comedy, you know, because it was soming about it was just
But I
quirky
made a
enough.
serious drama.
I made a slasher horror movie. Yeah, we're moving it to comedy. Comedy, yeah.
Usually it's a little more obvious than that, but yeah. But interestingly enough, though, I've actually programmed films that were entered in one category and I moved them to another category just because of the subject matter and because of how I needed to kind of time out each of the categories. So films that were sometimes in drama but had a horror element to it, I moved it to the horror category. We usually have a lot of entries in horror, and this year we didn't. So I needed kind of to populate that a little bit better.
I am surprised. I thought like horror
You would
movies.
think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to convince my partners to do a short horror film.
I
But,
think
you
there
know,
might be too many of them.
Well,
You see advertised on Netflix and stuff, and it's almost like horror after horror, and a lot of
Well,
them
it's
are
a very
the same.
popular genre, which is
Yeah.
why I say that we were
It
surprised
is.
that we didn't get that many this
yeah,
year.
like cheesy B-grade horror movies is where a lot of people get their big break.
And I will
Yeah.
say this, what's
Yeah.
interesting is we have more documentaries this year than any other year. It seems like during pandemic people were just wanting to film reality, you know. So realism versus formalism. So instead of more narrative films, we have more documentaries that we had entered this year. In fact, you know, almost every film that was chosen in comedy and drama were pretty much almost all of them that we had available to us.
So when you do these films and you have to choose categories, and I know this, do you have to watch every film and say, oh, I'm going to fit it here, or maybe this can go in a couple categories?
Right, so we
or how
had
do you-
about 100 films submitted, and I had to watch, and the selection committee had to watch every single one.
And then decide where to put it?
Well, first you decide, you pare it down to what will work in the festival, what won't. You know, so films that were what we call festival ready, meaning that they were shot well and they were well performed and the sound was good. You know, you're kind of looking at all of those elements. and then you're looking at entertainment value, and then you're looking at time, and so once you get that first round of films that you say, okay, these are the ones that we like, then you start looking at them and then really making honing in on a selection so that you think about, these are the categories I have, and this is how much time I have. So it's not much use having a festival that you can only plug in 9 hours worth of films, and you have 10 hours worth of films. And you have to look back over them and say, okay, what hour worth of films do you have to cut from the festival?
So the whole committee does that? The whole selection committee?
Yeah, so the selection committee, and then they advise me, and then I look through everything so I can make a final decision, especially if there's like a tie on something, or if it's split down the middle.
So there's probably some real debates at the end, sometimes...
There's more debates in the judging process than there are in the selection process. Because like I said, I kind of get a rating system, and I just go through all the rating systems.
Because the quality films are in the festival. Is that
right,
why there's more debate?
So I'll look at everything, and then I'll look at what everybody has given on a score sheet, and then I'll look at all the highest scored films to say, okay, these are the ones that the team, the selection committee looked at and have given a certain nod to say these are the ones that we feel should be in the festival. And then I look at all of those and then see, okay, now what can I physically program and make the final decision? The judges then take whatever has been selected for the festival, and that's what they're judging. So they're judging the ones that are in the festival.
And they're all pretty good films because you guys win the...
Well, you would think and you would hope,
Yeah.
So,
there might be a couple of odds, but let's say you're going to see at least 60 good films out of 63, right?
Can't say.
Even though...
I think all the films are worth some.
Yeah. And
we have some...
probably true.
And the only way to check it out and test the theory is come down and watch
you
it.
have to come to the festival.
Come to the festival.
And if you only get 59, if you only like 59, Peter will give you a dime.
You get a coupon for next year.
And the reason why we have categories is because people have an attraction to certain type of categories. So some people do like only documentaries. Well, like I said, this year, especially on Saturday, you'll get a flavor of documentaries in multiple categories. But like I said, we added an additional segment on Friday of just documentaries. So it's the first time that we have 2 categories in documentary.
Wow.
And then we have 2 in comedy and drama.
So we're going to take a break, and we're going to talk more about the film festival when we come back.
Real people, real stories, real life. We're looking for guests. We're looking for you here on the third chair. I'm Peter, that's Doug, and how many different ways can we have guests?
Oh, at least 3. We could have them here in the studio in Colorado Springs. We've had guests all the way from LA on Zoom, and we have gone on location, and we got our 3rd one already in the planning phase.
Awesome. Send us an email and we'll get you on the show.
So Ralph, I guess during the break you found some...
Yes.
Cost.
So basically the VIP pass for all of the films for both days is $75, and that would include also the opening night reception on Friday. And the award ceremony is free to anybody, so if you're there, you can come on down and see the awards. And we have a special musical guest this year. Her name is Cherish Morton, and she is wonderful. She performed for us at our Luna Fest earlier this summer, and she will be singing some of her standards from jazz and blues. She's a wonderful, wonderful performer. So she'll play for about an hour, and then we'll do the awards. We should go by pretty quickly. And then the Saturday pass, if you just want to come to Saturday films from 9 o'clock until 5:30, then it's $45. And then there's a dinner break, and then just everybody can come to the award ceremony starting at 6:30.
Cool. Now, I had a question before Doug gets to the last couple, or I wanted to make a comment. You are organizing, or either mostly or directing this, that, but I also know that you enter your own films in other festivals. but you have an ethical policy, which I think is fantastic, that because you're running this, you disqualify yourself from entering
Sure.
any of your own.
It's a conflict of interest. In fact,
I just like to put that out there so people know. I think that's...
one of our judges this year she was a producer on one of the drama films, so she cannot judge any of the drama films.
Same thing, conflict of
Yeah.
interest. Yeah.
So she won't be doing that. So yeah, we do that. So, we could have filmmakers be judges if we want to, as long as they're not judging anything that they were a part of. But I try to stay away from that usually.
Yeah.
So the exception was for one of our board members who's also a producer,
Sure.
and she's also on the committee. So she just can easily just back out of not judging that category.
Well, I think that's wise.
It's hard to
Yeah.
get judges. I mean, because
Yeah.
We've been fortunate
Also-
because we've had pretty much the same judges for all 6 years, with the exception of maybe somebody not being available and a substitution. So they're very, very familiar with the way the film festival works and the categories and the types of films and the filmmakers too. So it's kind of nice. Might mix that up in the next couple of years. Have some new fresh faces. We try to do that with the selection committee, so that's always different people looking at the films that will be then for me to look through to choose.
Yeah, fresh blood is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Teachable fresh blood is
Yeah.
good.
Well, what's interesting is I actually reach out to a lot of filmmakers that I know that have been part of the festival over the years to say, hey, do you have anything new? So I try to generate that too, to try to get, because it becomes like a family after a while. A lot of people want to come to Short Circuit because they want to see everybody again. It's like another place so that they can network and meet people. So again, back to the live event, which is
and
why
also
it's
meet
important.
old friends, and
Yeah.
even if you haven't made a film.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the ways the film festival benefits is so each filmmaker gets one VIP pass that can, obviously attend everything. But we ask our filmmakers that, for especially the block that their film is in, if they could get their friends or people who, filmmakers and people who participate in their film to come. And oftentimes what happens, for instance, if I go to a film festival and my film is represented, I usually pay for their ticket. So hopefully they'll do that. And get people in.
That's classy.
It is classy,
It's classy.
and it also helps the festival out because that's how we make money. And we're a nonprofit, so in order to make the festival successful, and you asked before, how much does it cost? Well, it costs quite a bit to put on a film festival. We depend upon ticket sales, and we depend upon sponsorship. So, and I like to thank all of our sponsors this year because they're wonderful. And remember also that all of us are volunteers. None of us are getting paid. So that's a big part of it. So
That's
everything
hard.
goes right back into the festival.
I went to Comic Con lately, and 90% of them, at least, they might have been almost all. I know it's a nonprofit that runs it, and the people on the floor and everything, because it was kind of crowded and there were some complaints, but the people on the floor always handled it real good, and it was a shout out to the volunteers there that, they handled it.
Yeah.
Oh, volunteers can make you or break you.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was great.
And I want to mention that you are our special guest this year because you'll be live doing interviews. Well, the interviews won't be live; they'll be recorded, but you'll be talking to our filmmakers for future episodes.
We're going to work the crowd.
Yeah, I think that's going to be neat
Work the
this
crowd.
year.
We might even do it in disguise. But
Please don't.
if you see me in a penguin outfit.
Yeah, we'll put Peter in the penguin outfit.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, wait a minute.
But
It's
there'll be plenty of
October.
room outside. In fact,
Maybe you could do a disguise for the horror part, but
No, we're really excited about that because
Oh,
it's just
yeah.
a chance. You run into some people. Talk to us for a couple minutes. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah,
I know,
there, just-
and lots of filmmakers are able to talk. It's like, oh, here, do you have an hour? Let me fill you in.
well, it's exciting to hear, the techniques or, why they made these films and all
well,
that.
you'll have an opportunity to talk to hopefully 60 plus filmmakers.
That would be great if we can get.
And we'll interview you too again.
You'll be lucky if you could grab me during the festival.
I know you're.
We'll
gonna
be running after Ralph.
Exactly
I'll
right.
be ready.
Because I'll be everywhere.
Yeah, I can't imagine how much you'll be running around.
Well, it's also fun. I mean, a big part of it too is for me to again be with the filmmakers and talk to them and make sure that they're happy and they're having a good time. The audience as well, but what makes a successful film festival is pleasing your filmmakers and your audience. So it's all about everybody who's attending.
Sure.
You know, we mentioned COVID earlier. Is that still affecting how you're doing business?
I hope not.
You hope not? Oh,
You know,
good.
it's hard to say, but the way it looks right now, I don't think it's going to be a factor, unless something really turns around, before we launch in October, but hopefully not. Traditional flu season kind of starts right around that time, so we'll see. But anyway,
We're getting a little COVID rush now, but I don't think it's as bad of a disease as it was.
it seems like it's taking a different turn,
Yeah.
and with so many people kind of being really aware of it and maybe taking better care. I also want to bring up is that we're in October for the festival, October 7th and 8th, and it's Arts Month. So it's part of the Arts Month celebration. And we also have later on in October, we have 3 nights of horror as part of Arts Month. It's that we're going into our 7th season for that.
3 nights of horror.
You've never been to our 3 nights of horror film festival? Well,
No, I haven't, but
That
you got me really curious.
yeah. So we'll have 13 classic horror films. Actually, one is a documentary about the making of the original. I just went blank, didn't I?
Oh,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
went right blank.
You'll remember later in the
Texas
show.
Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, wow.
Which we're also showing that original film too. 'Cause for some reason I was locked. We have so many
Well, of course,
different
it's,
films.
it's
We
also
often
been
go
redone.
blank on this
Yeah,
show
we-
too.
yeah, we-
It's
we're-
not the
suddenly-
first time it
Yeah.
happened.
So that'll be October 21, 22, and 23. That'll be at Cottonwood Center for the Arts, which is where our home base is. So
Yeah.
it's going to be neat being at Ivywild, being at the beginning of the month, and then at Cottonwood towards the end of the month. And wedged in there in the middle is a Peak Film Forum, which is the second Wednesday of October. And I'm going to show a selection of the award-winning shorts from last year's virtual.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
short
wow,
circuit.
that'd
So,
be nice.
so it's going to be like a really packed month of Arts Month and films from us. So really looking forward to that.
You know, for someone new,
And that'll be free. That one's free, whereas the other 2 are ticketed events.
because we got a lot of young filmmakers out there, and they want to get involved. What is the best way to enter a film competition? What do they need?
I'm glad you asked that because I'm putting together a workshop. Oh, that
Oh,
didn't
this
happen.
is even better.
I'm trying to get the horror festival stuff up so we can even talk about that in a bit too. I'm putting a workshop together for filmmakers about film festival etiquette, what film festivals need and what we look for, and it makes, for instance, I'm festival director for this film festival for Short Circuit. It makes my job a lot easier if you give me everything up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise I have to ask for it. So right about now, so you know where I'm in the process when this interview is being taken place, the notifications just went out yesterday. I won't say what date we are in,
Yeah.
but so I'm being hit today with all the questions and whatnot, and and having to reach out to all the filmmakers to get information. The reason why I said on our website for the ticket site where the information wasn't there because we're still just populating it with all this stuff. So I have to get images from them, bios from each of the filmmakers, description of their films. I need to download links so I can actually get their film because we play everything back from a hard drive. So all that stuff has to be done in advance. So at this point in the process, just so everybody knows when this interview is being taken place, it's about a little over a month before the festival. And I have a lot of work to do over the next few weeks.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So it's a lot of work. So I'll be every day just working on getting all that information from all filmmakers. And you think it would be easy, but it's not.
So it sounds like, it's not just making a good short. That's only the scratching the surface. When you are entering in the process, besides writing a check, you've got to be thinking about all those things: advertisement, bios, pictures.
It'd be nice if they gave
yeah.
that. And Film Freeway is the hub of where we go to get all of our entries. That's where everybody goes to enter the film festivals. And they represent thousands of film festivals internationally. And so basically, Film Freeway gives you all this as an option to load it up front. Why some filmmakers don't do it, I don't know, but they should.
And we were going to discuss this some more when we come back.
Welcome back to the third chair. I'm Peter, that's Doug, and we are here with our special guest, Ralph Giordano. Ralph, thank you so much for being here.
2?
I know, I've been demoted.
That's going on. Special to the 23rd
I think he was waiting
power.
for him to say, oh, and a couple more
Yeah, exactly. That would have been very special if you did that, Doug.
He makes us a special guest at the film festival, and you demote him.
So I have a question for Doug. How many times does he do this with all of your guests? I mean,
Actually, no. You would say a special guest for most of them, but
okay, well, great.
we
All
have
right.
never reached that number.
Yeah,
What a
never-
great honor.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you
is
so
a
much.
great honor. My special
Yes. There we go.
friend.
To the 10th power.
Yeah, to Avogadro's number for you chemists.
I'll add some numbers to the screen to make sure we clarify that.
So we have been talking. We just finished talking about some of the process for entering
Right.
a film competition. If you're a filmmaker, and it's way more than just actually like making the film. You got all these other documents, if you will, that you've got to generate and turn in.
Well, and also it depends upon what genre your film is. I mean, because you will then do a search on Film Freeway to see what film festivals are out there and where you might qualify and what's within your budget, because every festival costs money. So you want to analyze that. So if you have a horror film, then you want to look at festivals, and it's a short film. You want to look at what festivals will accept horror films and horror shorts,
yes.
and then what is their time limitation.
Sure.
Some might say, well, we only take shorts up to 10 minutes. Some say 15. Some say up to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So you want to look and see where you qualify.
Do you think when people make a short film, quote, 30 minutes, is that an advantage or a disadvantage? Is it? I mean, how is it potentially judged? Is it more of an opportunity to show that you've made some mistakes, or more of an opportunity to show you've done things magnificently? The 30-minute time limit.
If it's mistakes, then you're not going to get into a film festival. So there's your answer. So if you have a really good 30-minute film, then yeah, then it has a possibility. But remember, it all boils down to how much time you have. Now, when we did the virtual festivals, we had all the time in the world. So we could bring in films of all different lengths. At a live festival, my goal is how many filmmakers can I give an opportunity to be a part of a film festival? And I especially look at even filmmakers that are maybe first-timers. Mm-hmm. That's why the young filmmaker category came into being. Because it's really a thrill to be part of a film festival. Mm-hmm. So I kind of look at that. So shorts, if you're in a shorts festival, shorter is better. Less is more. Less is more.
Yeah. Fair enough. Let's talk about and I just found out about it from you, and I'd never heard of it. Is this a regular event in Colorado Springs? The 3 days of horror.
Well, So also part of Arts Month, we're doing 3 nights of horror, and this will be our 7th season. So yeah, we've been doing it for 7 years. This will be our 7th year, and this year again we're at Cottonwood, and. So I just happen to have that information here. So it's October 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Uh-huh. And so like Short Circuit, there are a block of films, but these are classic horror films. Also, we will have a lead-in short of a horror short from an independent Colorado filmmaker. Mm-hmm. Most likely some of the films that were at Short Circuit.
When you have horror categories, I assume that you accept the breadth of horror, whether it's like Dracula, werewolves, supernatural versus crazy slasher kind of thing. Right. Is pretty, or does that get divided out to different categories within horror?
It depends upon thematically how we put the days together. But I'll give you an example of some of the films that we have this year at the festival. And some what we call are like B-level films, from the 50s or 60s, that are meant to be just like, this is where science fiction and horror came from, so you can actually laugh about it. And usually there's always one film that we use where we call it a talkback film. So those of you familiar with Mystery Science Theater, we allow the audience to be able to participate in that film. So some of the films that we're showing, or I should say the films that we're showing, is the American Psycho with Christian Bale.
Oh, wow, that is Psycho.
This is a fun one. The Brain That Wouldn't Die.
The Brain That Wouldn't Die.
The Bride of Reanimator, because last year we showed Reanimator. And then and then another film festival in town called 6 Feet Under Film Festival. They are doing Reanimator on the first Sunday of the month at Roadhouse. and I'm giving them a plug because they're one of our sponsors and we love them dearly. So they're going to show Reanimator and actually bring in actor Jeffrey Combs to the festival. So that's why we thought, well, we'll show Bride of Reanimator, which is a couple weeks later. So plug for 3 Feet Under. Here's one that I love. It's such a silly horror film called Motel Hell from the 80s.
Never heard of it.
And then we have the producer's cut of Rabid Grannies. And that's
Rabid Grannies?
I remember the title. I didn't see the movie for some reason.
And then comedy horror to The Return of the Living Dead, which really kind of pokes fun at the whole zombie genre. And then Slumber Party Massacre, which is also from the 80s. And then, of course, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974, and a documentary called The Shocking Truth about the making of that film. And we also have right now the original John Carpenter, The Thing.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So that's just some of the films that we're going to be
Thing
showing.
filmed?
When was it filmed? I think that was 1982.
Wow.
So how many years is that?
Yeah.
It's the 40th anniversary.
40.
Have they ever
Yeah.
had like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes?
Yep, we have had stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be great. Now, would you classify the Rocky Horror Picture Show as a horror, or would that be more of a musical comedy?
That would fit in the horror category. However, Rocky Horror Picture Show fits into a whole new area where so many people do a film screening of that separately. So we don't ever do that because it's usually done by so many people and they do it live with performers and whatnot. So but that would qualify. Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic.
It's a horror comedy musical.
My daughter's done it the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And she's played 3 different parts.
Yeah. But also remember, too, this, so all these films that I mentioned, we license. In other words, we go to a clearinghouse, so to speak, of where we pay for those films.
Permission to show them at certain times.
Yeah, Rocky Horror is kind of expensive, so it's
I imagine.
Yeah. But some, it depends upon what we're looking for. So sometimes we splurge a little bit to get, some of the, sometimes even more of the newer films. But
wow.
But I think this year we have a nice array of, sci-fi with The Thing, and then zombie films, and blood-sucking zombies and that kind of stuff.
One of my favorites was the creature was from the Black Lagoon.
We showed that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, not to be confused with the movie Blue Lagoon.
Totally different.
Totally different.
Interestingly enough, though, so sometimes we do show classic films like that. We've shown like Bride of Frankenstein and the original Dracula. But when we showed Creature from the Black Lagoon, it was at an earlier screening on a Sunday, and we had more people come to that, so it was really interesting.
I would have skipped
that
church.
It really had a following, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet it's got a great cult following.
So,
yeah.
and we didn't know.
We're hoping for the same level of cult-like following for our podcast, or web series, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So, since we last have you on, a related question. You are now teaching at the University of Colorado Springs.
UCCS.
And you're doing a introduction to digital film.
filmmaking.
So in the course of that, do you go all the way through from idea creation, pre-production, production, editing, post-production, distribution? Do you sort of cover the whole gambit of what?
It's first-time filmmakers, so no, we don't get to distribution. So this is just basically... Sometimes these filmmakers, the first time they're ever going to hold a camera in their hands. So it's just their first films. And they're short films. They're required to do 2 short films before the end of the semester.
So how long do they have to be? Is there a minimum time?
Yeah, so the first one's like 2 to 3 minutes. The second one's a little bit longer.
Okay.
And then they can explore more. And basically, they're using all the techniques that we talk about in class. So we'll go over... camera, we'll go over framing and composition, we'll be going over lighting, we'll be going over audio, we'll be going over editing.
Do you go much into script writing as well?
Yes, and we also talk a little bit about script writing. That's another key element.
So they have to do the whole gambit to be...
Right, and they have to, so if I have, let's say, 20 students in my class, we break up into 4 teams of 5. Wow. And so each team has to work together and collaborate, and so separately. And then we'll be watching 4 films for the first one, and then 4 films for the second one.
You've done this class before, right?
Yeah, I did the spring semester in 2021.
So when you come back, can you tell us how much of your time is spent settling debates between the groups of 5?
So far so good. I mean, everybody is... it's not a competition in class, so it's not that way. So basically, it's just a collaboration between everybody, and it's very cohesive from what I've been seeing. Everybody seems to be really working together very well.
All right. Well, we will continue to quiz you on this adventure when we come right back.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Peter from Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching, and as you know, I do help people with drug and alcohol recovery issues. I love to help people get better, but I also offer a variety of other services, including regular life coaching services. I've helped several people write and finish a book. I've helped a doctor that was in medical school graduate and then get into a residency. And I also actually have quite a background in mathematics, and I do some math tutoring for the GED as well as the ASVAB for those that are thinking about a career in the military. So my contact information is on the screen. Please send me an email or a text, and we can talk about some of these services and how I can help. That's Peter Grigg at Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching. Welcome back to the third chair. I'm still Peter. He is still Doug, and we are here with Ralph Giordano. We are
great
guest.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What happened to special? Great.
He's
We went on
specially
to-
great.
yeah.
He's
trying to
evolved.
promote you.
He's personalizing it to great.
Yeah.
He's special.
I have issues. I haven't had my medicine. Anyways,
Peter is special. We do know.
So we may not have mentioned through the show, but you have had and continue to have many roles: writer, director. I think you've done a little bit of acting. Am I? Not really.
Not really.
Not really. Okay, so forget it. He's not an actor. Yeah, and a producer, but also what I didn't know much about, and I think we may have talked about it a little bit a year ago, is that you enjoy like still photography, and on your website there's that kind of scenic. Black and white photo with the clouds and the field. Is that one that you took? And do you have a passion for that type of photography?
Yeah, I do. I consider myself a portrait photographer mainly, but once the iPhone existed and I had a camera in my phone, I started taking photos of scenery and scenic scenes and landscapes and cityscapes and architectural stuff. So I started to do that. And I do this thing on social media called random shots of the day. And so I'll take a photo, not every day, but just something that will hit me. And I have a backlog of photos too that I'm just like waiting to put out there. And I just do a photo of the day, really. But sometimes it's a photo of the week. It just depends upon how often I get to do it. And it seems to have gotten quite an interest in people. They enjoy seeing something from what I do, and I like it. It keeps my visual sense going, so
Nice.
and kind of and it's in a way I do teach that in the film class, because we have to talk about framing and composition. Well, what better way to really understand that is through photography?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
I agree. Now, I know you have a filming and video production company, Archangel Productions, and I have it's archangelpro.com.
And we'll put that up.
Yeah, we're going to put all that up, and just if I know I assume, at least last time we talked, you were taking new clients for different types of projects. Is that
Always,
still
yeah.
the case?
Well, I'm a commercial filmmaker, so that's how I make a living.
So let us know what types of information you'd like to have on the screen, and what's the best way for someone to contact you, say if they have a project or an idea they want to run by you. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is probably through my website, because I'll get that directly to me. And but I also want to bring up our other web addresses. So for the film festival, so Colorado Short Circuit is csc.eventive.org. For the horror festival, it's horror.eventive.org. independentfilmsociety.org. On social media, follow us on Facebook at Peak Film Forum, also Independent Film Society of Colorado, or Indie Spirit Film Festival. That's all on Facebook, and on Instagram and Twitter, it's just IFSOC.
IFSOC.
IFSOC as IFSOC for Independent Film Society of Colorado.
And I've noticed you've got a very nice
And I have my
IFSOC shirt on.
I
which,
wore that special tonight.
Thank you. We're really glad you did it. It's a very special shirt.
It made your special go up another notch.
Made your special go up.
I think the shirt is great.
Yeah, I think it is too. I think it could even be better. You know, you gotta have that like tattooed on your chest.
And we don't have these shirts won't be available at the film festivals. This is kind of like
Will there be merchandise?
But yes, there'll be merchandise. We do have T-shirts that are available, and we have at the Horror Festival we have glasses that you can buy. You know, beer glasses, and we have stickers that have IFSOC on them.
Beautiful.
So there's a bunch of different things that are available. For merchandise, but this is kind of a model, so I'm modeling this tonight to see if this is something we might want to venture into in the future.
Very good, very good. Thank you, Ralph, for being here. You've been a fantastic guest.
You.
And
wow, fantastic's a new word.
Yeah, fantastic. This information you've given, we're excited to get out there. We really want to see the Short Circuit Festival be just have a magnificent filling and outpouring of support. Thank you so much again for being here and letting us know.
And we'll see you at the festival.
We'll see you at the festival.
Yes.
Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell icon so you know when we upload our next episode with our next guest. Good night from Two Men and a Duck Entertainment and the Third Chair.